regulating is the biggest difference between intention and impact. When you regulate, those two align. Your words match your energy. That means pausing before initiating, taking that time to check in with yourself about how you're actually feeling, how you got to this place, what's going on in you, what are you wanting, what are you needing, calming your body, clarifying your intention. And you can do all this by asking yourself, am I trying to connect or correct? Am I hoping to understand or to win? Welcome to the Marriage and Motherhood Podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Perda. As a marriage coach who's married with 3 kids, I know how much parenthood could change a marriage. If flirting, laughing, and having fun together feels like a thing of the past, then I'm here to teach you that marriage doesn't have to feel so hard with your parents, and your marriage can thrive even when you're in the season of raising kids. Whether you're in a good place in your marriage and you just want to continue growing together, or you're wondering if you even like your spouse anymore, this podcast has something for you. Join me here each week as we dive into what it takes to help your marriage grow, and maybe even do a 180. You'll learn ways to handle conflict better, bring that spark back into your relationship, as well as learn how to improve other areas of your life from my lovely guest experts. Are you ready for the next stage of your life and marriage? Let's dive in. Hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Marriage and Motherhood Podcast. So we all know how tricky communication can be given how you experience arguments right now. And we can just chalk that up to, our partner sucks at communicating, or we're bad at or you're bad at communicating. And a lot of communication breaks down for a reason that you might not be expecting. You might be thinking, I just need to know the right words to say. And the skill that often goes overlooked or even unknown is how you approach the conversation to begin with. And that all stems from how you as a person are entering the conversation, right? Most communication breakdowns happen before anyone even starts talking. This is very similar to when someone enters the room and the whole vibe changes, right? By the time you're exchanging words, the conversation has already been shaped by the tone that's being used, your body language, your facial expression, the tension that you might be carrying into the conversation, expectations that you're holding. The issue isn't usually about what you're saying, which kind of is a sense of relief, right? Because that means that you don't have to say the perfect thing in order for your conflict to not turn into arguments, to keep your conflict as conversations, productive conversations at that. Many people communicate while emotionally activated and they don't even realize it. I know I was one of those people, right? And in the times that I'm tired or even stressed out, I can get to this point as well, where my emotions are driving how I'm communicating. And that's not to say emotions are evil or the cause of this. Emotions are highly valuable in our life. It's what makes our life colorful. It adds meaning to our life. Emotions also teach us about ourselves, right? What we enjoy, what we dislike, when change is needed, when we need to step up and advocate for ourselves or create some boundaries or maintain them. And both things can be true, right? You can love your spouse deeply. You can want connection. You can intend to be really calm during the conversation and come out of it together. You can also use the quote unquote right communication tools and still trigger defensiveness or someone shutting down or your spouse shutting down. Good intentions does not prevent any of that from happening, right? We've all had the best of intentions going into a conversation and utilize these tools that we've learned about, like the I statements, like not yelling, like saying things nicely, like not being mean. But those things, while they're still good to keep in mind during tough conversations, No one has taught us how important it is to regulate our nervous systems before speaking. So this is the missed step. The thing that is missed in a lot of conversations, in a lot of relationships, that is the game changer, okay? Without knowing how to regulate our nervous system, this looks like feeling really tense and activated, bracing for pushback from our partner, rehearsing our arguments over and over again, already anticipating that we're just going to be misunderstood, and just like going in ready for a battle, right? All of this is just ramping the conversation up for it to be escalated into an argument. Now, here's what's happening behind the scenes. It's not our emotions that lead conversations. It's our nervous system. Our body speaks before words come out of our mouth. Our body is always trying to communicate to us about what's happening, how we're feeling, what we're needing. And this goes back to a phrase that I've been saying a lot recently, which is intentions versus impact. And in relation to marriage, intention and impact are not the same thing. You can intend to connect and still create defensiveness in your partner. You can intend to be calm and still come off intense to your partner. You can intend to be curious and clarify and still have what you say land as criticism. So your intentions may be well-meaning and pure, but the impact of what you're doing is what your partner is reacting to. And that's what matters most. Your impact is shaped by your tone, your pacing, your facial expressions, your level of intensity that often comes from inside of you, and whether you feel regulated in your own body. And you may say, like, well, that's not what I meant. I wasn't trying to hurt you. I was just explaining. We've all said these things before when we notice our partner reacting in a way that we weren't hoping for them to. And even though we had good intentions, all of this stuff still may be true, right? That we negatively impacted our partner, that we triggered them. But healthy communication isn't about defending your intention. So if you're coming back with, that's not what I meant, I wasn't trying to hurt you, I was just explaining, don't take it that way, you're taking it the wrong way, right? It's about becoming more and more aware of the impact that you have during the conversation, right? It's the tone you're using, your sense of timing, and your self-regulation. Those all are more important than your wording, and it's all stemming from how regulated are you. Obviously, if you are livid, seeing red, that's going to affect how you come off, right? Even before a word comes out of your mouth, your partner already knows to brace themselves for something that's not pleasant. And you could say the perfect sentence. You can word things in the most peaceful way. But if your nervous system is not regulated, that can still come off aggressive, critical. And that impact that you have from your intensity will cut deep. And the step that determines whether the conversations lead to understanding or defensiveness is regulating yourself before initiating the conversation. Not to say suppress how you feel or what you want, not to say pretend, right? But regulating, giving yourself some care and nourishment, right? You're dysregulated, you're triggered, you're upset. Take that step to take care of yourself first so that you can feel like you are more equipped and ready to have a successful conversation with your partner. If you're going in hot like a bull in a china shop, that's not going to go over well. My family, we've been watching the Marvel series chronologically, and there's times where they're like, oh, we don't want Hulk in here. Please don't turn green. Don't go green here because he's just going to cause a lot of damage, right? And And the same thing can be said about ourselves, right? There's a time and a place to be angry. And if we can harness that anger in a healthy way, that's going to lead to having a productive conversation. But if we don't take time to transform that anger into something that can be productive, it can cause even more damage. So even if you are rightfully having this conversation with your spouse because you feel wronged, because you desire change, you see potential in how your relationship can grow by addressing this topic. If you go in dysregulated and not ready to have the conversation where it can be a two-way conversation, where your spouse feels like he does have a say, he does have a voice, you want to understand him, then it's not going to go well. And here we're all about setting you up for having successful conversations. Because if you're not both crossing the finish line together, you're both losing, right? It's creating disconnect. It's deteriorating trust. It's creating disconnect. And the partnership starts to crumble. So regulating is so key. This is the biggest difference between intention and impact. When you regulate, those two align. Your words match your energy. Your body communicates safety instead of pressure or criticism, judgment. And that means pausing before initiating, taking that time to check in with yourself about how you're actually feeling, how you got to this place, what's going on in you, what are you wanting, what are you needing, calming your body, clarifying your intention. And you can do all this by asking yourself, am I trying to connect or correct? Am I hoping to understand or to win? Was my intention connection, but my impact pressure? Was my intention honesty, but my impact criticism? And this is the first step of my peace method. This is the P for pause, right? If you skip this, the rest of the steps don't even matter because that sense is already felt. It is delivered, the message is received, and they're like, okay, you're in for a fight. You are not here for us. You are here for yourself. Not to say that that's you purposely being selfish. No, because that was me, right? Like I didn't have any intention of feeling more disconnected by the end of the conversation. I simply just didn't know the power of pausing. I equated talking about something immediately with urgency to caring about the relationship because I wanted to fix it as soon as possible. But over time, I have learned that taking time to first get to know what's going on with me, getting crystal clear on that first, is what allows for a higher chance of a productive conversation. Because if I'm good with myself, I'm not having to spend time figuring out what am I thinking and believing and wanting and needing and feeling while also trying to listen, right? When I don't take that first step of regulating myself and kind of just like digging through what's going on with me first, I'm not actually listening to my partner, right? What I'm doing is I'm hearing the words that are coming across to me, but I'm pushing it through a lens of what are you saying about me, right? And so I take offense. I twist the words and I am using it in a way where I am not open to hearing how I impacted him. I'm more so looking for, oh, did you say sorry? Did you say you're going to change? Did you say you did something wrong? And in anything outside of that is like going against me. But that's not true, right? You have your experience in conflict and then he has his experience. And that doesn't negate or dismiss either side, right? And so we've got to work on regulating ourselves first. I had a client who was like, I don't have any communication problems. Like, I do all things. I use I statements. I'm very calm. I use calm wording. I don't blame. I don't raise my voice. But even while doing that, her husband would shut down almost immediately. And she couldn't understand why. Her intention was to connect. Her intention was to get back to normal. She just wanted to share whatever frustrations she had so that they can move forward. But the impact was pressure. And when we slowed it down and kind of like took a look at the different pieces, we realized she entered every hard conversation internally tense and bracing herself. So her body was tight, her jaw was clenched, her shoulders were lifted, and her energy communicated, you better not dismiss this. You better fix this. Even though she wasn't yelling, because she was guarded. Her nervous system was communicating, disconnect. We are in a battle, even though her words were soft. Once she learned to pause first before initiating, taking some time to regulate herself, clarifying what her intention was, and anchoring her actions around that intention, she was able to soften her body, and the impact that she had was softened as well, right? The conversation changed. She didn't change her personality. It's that when her nervous system was softened and supported by herself, the impact was softened. Her husband stopped shutting down, not because she said different words, but because her intention and impact were finally aligned. And that's where he was able to truly listen to her feedback and offer his feedback, because he felt like, oh, she's here to listen. She's here to work with me, not work against me, not to put me down, right? She's here because she wants to work on this together to improve what's happening. And so, of course, he stepped up because he didn't feel like he was being yelled at, like he was in trouble by his mom or a parent. He felt like, oh, my partner has an issue. Let's fix this, right? Because of her softened and more aligned approach, he was able to trust that she was there for them, right? Not to put him in check, not to make him feel bad, but rather they have a problem and they're going to approach this problem as a team. Now, here's why this matters. Without doing this, whatever patterns or habits you guys have, it's going to repeat. Even if you're like, oh, I read all these books, I took all these courses about the right thing to say. Sure, you'll refine the scripts that you might use. You'll learn some more tools. You'll say, oh, we'll do better next time. But at the end of the day, you're going to feel stuck and not see significant progress because you're addressing the intention piece, but you're ignoring the impact. And your partner is reacting to the impact. And that's what matters most, right? So that's why couples feel like we've had this conversation a million times. I don't know what else to say. I don't know how else to deal with this differently. Nothing changes. Well, I'm here to tell you, if you're prepared differently, it will change. Okay? Communication isn't about saying things perfectly. It's about how you enter the conversation. You don't need to be flawless. You don't need to suppress how you feel. You don't need to become someone else. You first need to give yourself that sense of safety in your own body first. You need to regulate yourself. Let your anger and frustration settle first. You can still have that and allow that to clarify what it is that you're needing and wanting. And when you do that, you get to enter the conversation more grounded, right? You create space for your partner to also do the same. You create space for them to be able to open up without fearing the backlash. This is what's mature communication. And this is what it means for your relationship to evolve, right? This is emotional intimacy. This is the work that matters. And this is what gets to happen when your intention and your impact align. This is all about taking personal responsibility over how you're impacting your partner, right? It's not perfection. It's not never getting triggered, because that's impossible. We're human. It's not blaming yourself for everything. It's not blaming your partner for everything. What this is really about is being willing to say, oh, there's another part of this that I can work on that will make a difference. So if you're waiting for your partner to change first, listening to this is probably frustrating because you're like, oh, another thing? Why do I have to do all the things? So it might bring up some resentment. And what I have to say about that is this work that you're doing is for you. It's not for them. It will benefit you in all aspects of your life. At home with your spouse, at home with your kids, with your work, with other family, with friends. You're doing this so that you can feel proud of how you're communicating. And when you can show up in this way with heightened awareness and being more aligned with your intention and impact, you can facilitate better conversations just by approaching it differently. You get to still be you. You'll just be you in a less reactive way, in a way where people feel safer to talk to you. And if you're willing to grow, this episode is going to feel really empowering, because the impact that you're going to have when you take a moment to pause and regulate and clarify with yourself first, it is going to be a game changer. I know this to be true for myself, someone who got in a lot of arguments in the past. I've seen this to be true in my clients. The clients who thrive in my programs are the ones who understand I can't control their reaction, but I can take responsibility for my regulation. I can take responsibility for my impact, and I can make adjustments to that, right? This isn't absolving your partner from doing the work. This is saying, I only have control over myself. And so I'm going to do my damn best to put in the work so that I'm doing my part, because I care about my marriage. I care about this relationship. So this is me saying in action that I'm going to do this, that it's worth it to me, that I want us to succeed. And I'm showing it by doing this work, even if it can be uncomfortable at times, because what new thing isn't a little bit or a lot of bit uncomfortable, right? But as you continuously do it, practice, do it consistently, it starts to become more second nature. Okay? So if you don't know this already, give yourself so much grace. Because how would you know this, right? If your parents didn't do it, how would you know to do this? I certainly didn't see this growing up, right? And so sometimes it is a struggle. I'm like, oh gosh, I just did it again. I did what I used to do. Okay, course correct, right? You're going up against habits that are decades old. So even if you're like, dang it, I didn't get it that last time. Okay, I'll get it next time. Where's the misstep that I took? Let me learn from this experience. Okay? So before your next hard conversation, I want you to just delay it, even if it's like 10 minutes. Move your body, take some slow, deep breaths, help your body to settle. Ask yourself, what am I feeling? What do I need? What's my intention? And then check in with your body. Are my shoulders relaxed? Is my jaw unclenched? Is my breath steady? Is my heart steady? Do that and then start. Let your approach communicate, I'm here to understand. I'm here for us. Instead of communicating, it's about to go down. Okay? This shift alone can change your marriage. Can you imagine your marriage having a completely different experience of conflict where it's like, okay, an issue came up, you talk about it, things get settled, and then you move on with your life, versus something goes wrong, you argue about it, you go back and forth, nothing gets resolved, you guys don't like each other for a bit, it feels a little awkward, and then you're having to test each other, kind of walk on eggshells, like, are we cool? I don't know. And then you pretend that everything's okay, only for it to come back up again. And it's like this never ending cycle, and you don't feel like you're ever moving forward. Because that's really the two paths that you have to take. You either do this work and see it improve, or you don't do the work and you lock yourself in for the kind of marriage that you have for the foreseeable future and have it decline over time. Because it erodes trust, it breaks the partnership, and then connection starts to fade. And next thing you know, you just feel like strangers and you feel like roommates and co-parents. Okay? I don't want that for you. So if this episode resonated with you, it's not that you're bad at communication. You're just ready for the next level. Okay? If that's you, then I've got two options for you here. Check out my free masterclass. It's called The Number One Conversation Couples Need to Have But Aren't. In this masterclass, I teach you how to create an aligned, shared vision so that you can reduce the arguments that you have, you can reduce the defensiveness, increase trust between you two, and move from conflict to collaboration because you know you guys are working towards the same thing. You trust that every choice that you make is an effort to move in that direction. It also makes decision-making a whole lot easier. So check that out if you want to stop having repetitive arguments, okay? And then route number 2, if you're ready for more personalized support in how to apply what you're learning, then book a clarity call, okay? Because knowing about intention versus impact is powerful, but learning how to regulate consistently in real time in your marriage, that's where transformation happens, okay? So book that clarity call. Let's talk about what's going on and how marriage coaching can help you. And that's it for this episode. If you know someone that could benefit from listening to this episode, please send this to them. Better yet, share this in your Instagram stories and tag me, and I'll give you a shout out. If you love this show, thank you so much for being here. Please consider leaving a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. That's what helps this show grow and helps more people like you get the help that they need. And that's it for today. I'll catch you back here on the next episode. Bye. That's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it. If you did, please send me a message over on Instagram at Michelle Perta Coaching to let me know what you loved most about it. Hearing from my listeners is my absolute favorite. And if you've been loving this podcast, please leave a rating and review. This will help people like you find the show and get the help they need. Catch you here on the next episode. Bye.